Welcome back to Ask the Attorney. I'm Amy Rao-Mohan here with Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm in Clarksville. Already lots of questions. Phones are lighting up.
All the lines are lit up. That's great.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And make sure you call that number at the bottom of your screen, 737-plus-737-7587. We got Mike here. Good evening, Mike.
Hi, guys. How are y'all doing?
Great. Good to talk to you.
Great. Hey, I have a question to ask if you don't mind, sir.
Sure.
I talked to you sometime about, my question is, with my church and everything, we are dreaming for a big thing to be able to help the homeless up in Nashville, Tennessee, and just wondering maybe me and my pastor maybe could come and maybe sit down and have lunch with you and share our vision with you to see if you guys might want to partner up and help us change people's lives in Nashville for the homeless. And
yes, and I remember you called before. Yeah, you're welcome to call the office. And, you know, Christian work, church work, committed to helping people. I salute you. I love for people to step up and help others and think about the vision and building. So, yes, you call and we'd be delighted to talk with you.
And we'll be putting Kevin's information on the screen right towards the end of the show. But, of course, you can look up the Kennedy Law Firm and get his information there as well. Got Elton here. Hi, Elton.
Yes, I had a contract with the TV, and they put. I had one of those package deals with so many months of some program free, and they slammed me with an NFL thing, which I specifically told them at the time that I had the contract that I wasn't interested in. Well, they slammed me with that and charged me, and then they would only take off a half of it. So they finally decided to go ahead and credit me the rest of it, but they sent me a prepaid credit card. The trouble of it is, a year ago, I had to take bankruptcy, and the credit card, the prepaid credit card is drawn on one of the credit cards I had to take bankruptcy against. Can I use that credit card and not re-encumber myself with that previous debt?
Well, here's where you dance, and that's why once you file bankruptcy, you know, normally your debts are wiped out. There's a lot of laws on that bankruptcy code that prevent you from bringing on new credit if you're still in the bankruptcy. So what I'd tell you to do is I would go see my bankruptcy lawyer and ask them the status of my bankruptcy, and will the plan that I'm in allow me to use that, and I would go on their advice.
All right, yeah, it is a specialized field. So, all right, we've got Rosie here. Hi, Rosie.
Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
Great.
Good.
What can we do for you, Rosie?
Okay, I'm calling. I have a concern. It's pertaining to my grandbaby that was in the hospital.
Yes.
And my grandbaby was bruised. He was slapped. And he was scratched, and he ended up with a black eye. So my question to you, which we have documentation, we have pictures, and we have the name of all the staff that was on the floor.
Yes.
So my question to you is to show us the right direction and which lawyer that we need to talk to this about this situation, because that is abuse. Because if we did that, they would lock us up.
You're right. Well, one of the things I would suggest to you, again, you've done good. You've got these photos, but you might go to the hospital and say, is there film or a camera, and then move your way up. You can talk to the head nurse, and then you can talk to the CEO. They may be scared to death, say, hey, we're not going to turn these films over to you without a court order. And again, they've got a problem. If there is abuse, and if the viewing audience knows of abuse, and you're under an obligation to report it, because it's against public policy to abuse children, they have to have someone to stand up for themselves. And yes, they would have taken on some significant liability if they let employees or whoever get to that child. So that might be where I would start. And then again, you know, you can go online, Tennessee Bar Association, and find some malpractice lawyers and some personal injury lawyers and pursue that claim. You know, Amy, I also wanted to address, I saw one of the craziest cases this week where a person bought a car. They had a car wreck, a new car, and so they go to the insurance company and say, yes, we'll fix it. Great. So they fixed their car, and so they go to trade it. Everything's fine, no problem. Right. When they go to trade it, they said, well, let's run a Carfax. The Carfax came back and said that the car had been totaled. Well, they said, golly, the car was worth $23,000 if it had just been fixed. But now that it's stamped on Carfax through the whole nation, now the car is worth $9,000.
Wow.
So she goes back to the insurance company and says, hey, y'all, you ripped me off. The car wasn't totaled. You fixed it. They said, no, that's the body shop. She goes to the body shop and says, hey, body shop, what about this? No, that was the insurance. So you're going backwards and forwards. And that's a new problem that I've seen. And, of course, you'd never know it. So what's the point of me even bringing it up on the TV show tonight? Is to check. You know, you can run Carfaxes on your cars, and then when you go to buy a car, run it and try to find out exactly, because it can look good, but then when the documentation comes through, it'll kill you with all the new car dealers. And when you go to trade that car in, many times they will come back and say, sign this statement that there's nothing wrong with the car, that it's not been in a wreck, and you just say sign papers. No, get them to explain it to you.
Yeah, wow. All right, we've got Pat here. Hi, Pat.
Hi.
How can we help you tonight?
In October, I went to the hospital, and I had different insurance I do now, and my bill was $14,000, and my insurance refused to pay it because the nurse said a nurse that worked for them said it could have been done outpatient. If it could have been done outpatient, why did they put me in the hospital?
Yes.
They thought it could be outpatient surgery. What can I do?
Okay. And we're seeing that same problem all the time. Here's the word to the wise. When you go in for the procedure, ask them, will my insurance cover this? I've got Blue Cross. Is it out of our plan?
Network,
and if it's not in the network, then what is available? So many people in a rush, they go right in, they pick this hospital, they have emergency surgery, then they get a bill, and you say, well, I've got insurance, and then they say, we're turning you down because you were out. Well, no one told me.
Yeah. Is there anything she can do at this point?
At this point, sure, I would still dispute that, and you can have a lawyer, and many times the hospitals, when you dispute it, they'll cut the bill from like 100% to 60%, so that's a good advice, and try to do that. And if they won't, again, you call a lawyer. It would be better off for you to hire a lawyer, perhaps even a letter from the lawyer if it's a substantial bill. What we're seeing $20,000, $50,000, $60,000 bills. Well, you know you'd be better off to spend some money with a lawyer and try to get that bill pulled around, or at least, you know, we even have the opportunity many times to say, this is not right, we don't agree, and get rid of it.
Yeah. All right, I believe that Paula had a follow-up question for you, Kevin.
I may not have been clear when I asked the question the first time. First of all, the amount of money that I'm going to be reimbursed is so small that it's not, lawyers are not interested in helping me collect it.
All right.
But secondly, what I wanted to file before the court was not in relation to getting that money. It's because the case that I had was so messed up that it's time barred and everything else. But I mean, there are some other things. There are things that I think where the time barring won't even be an issue because there was fraud and all kinds of things involved. So what I want to do, rather than just, I mean, eventually I may get into a suit with, you know, the original parties, but I just want to file something before the court in the form of a complaint or something where I don't have to have the style of the case be me versus a defendant.
Okay. I think what you're going to have to do is if you're going to bring a lawsuit, it's a brand new complaint, and if you're the complainant, then you've got to name the defendant.
And it just can't be for the exact same.
Right. And here's one of the other things I want to make this clear too. You know, even if you think it's right that you should file this, if the law says the statute of limitations has run, if you file that, you could be turned around and hit with a frivolous lawsuit.
That's true.
Because your lawyer said, hey, you already know that this is not right. You have brought this. You brought the defendant in. They've had to expend monies to defend this act. And they could then bring a lawsuit against you for attorney's fees, court costs, a host of things. So again, lawyers they're under obligation to investigate those things before they bring them. And I hear your frustration, and I'm so sorry that you've had to deal with that. But the best advice from this point on is to say, do I have a viable claim? And then pursue a viable claim.
All right, we've got Brian here on 4. Hi, Brian.
Hi, that's me.
Yes, Brian, go ahead.
Hey, yes, I'm calling about land. I inherited some land in Florida, and it sounded like one of those inland waterway canal that's not right on the ocean. It's kind of swampy, and I live out in the country, and I know about the swampy land. It gets, I'm wondering, if I take this land, you're not a tax guy, but is there what laws are there of keeping people off property if I'm not there? Because I inherited it, and my father, and he had a woman on there with an old trailer, and I'm getting rid of that. And then in the future, like even here in Tennessee, did you just put up like no trespassing signs?
Yes, and here's what I'd recommend. I'd recommend put up the no trespassing signs. If you own property, you carry the responsibility and the liability of that. I would get an insurance policy that would protect. I put up my signs, no trespassing. I own lots of different pieces of land, and I've got liability insurance on it, because you never know. Somebody comes along and says, hey, he had an attractive nuisance. This child has walked onto your property. It wasn't fenced. It wasn't marked. You knew there was a sinkhole there. You didn't tell anybody. You knew kids played nearby.
Somebody got hurt.
And somebody was killed. You can count on it. Somebody's going to sue you, because the first thing they're going to want to know, who owns the land, and it's easy to detect because the deed will bring it right back to you. So again, take measures. One of my sons is a doctor, and he said, you know what I heard Daddy say one time? He said, always have insurance, but don't ever rely on it. So we're going to try to protect ourselves. We'll post the no trespassing. We'll have a liability insurance policy. I tell a lot of other people, if you got lots of land, get you an umbrella policy. They're not very expensive, and so one policy will carry up to $200,000 or $300,000 liability. You can get an umbrella policy for a very nominal amount, really, per year, for $1 million, $2 million, or whatever would be appropriate. Talk it over with your insurance. But this lawyer, I don't think you really go insurance poor. And the wealthiest people that we represent, they all have insurance.
Right. Well, we're going to come back with Kevin Kennedy after a quick break, but keep those calls coming in.